Most people think that if they do the right things, go to the right school, get good grades, get the right job, work hard, they're going to succeed in life. But the truth is that the way you think has a bigger impact than the things you do. So today we're going to look at the 4 mindset shifts that'll change your life. When you look at successful people, it's tempting to look at what they do and try and copy that to copy their success. But if it were that easy, we'd all be happy and successful. The truth is, without understanding the deeper mindsets that drive their actions, you're never going to achieve the same level of success that they have, and you're never going to be truly happy and fulfilled. How you think drives every decision you make and every action you take. That's why your mindset is more important than anything else. It determines the difference between success and failure, and happiness and misery. So let's take a look at the 4 mindset shifts that'll change your whole life. I like to think of these 4 mindset shifts as levels. Level 1 is the easiest to achieve and will definitely improve your life, while level 4 is the most difficult to achieve, but it makes radical difference in everything you do from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed, even how well you sleep at night. So let's get in there and find out what these levels are. And we're going to start with level 1, the fixed mindset to the growth mindset. You've probably heard the terms fixed and growth mindset before, but what do they actually mean? Well, fixed mindset is just that. It's the belief that all of your skills and abilities are innate and unchangeable. So if you're good at something, you'll always be good at it. And if you're bad at something, you'll always be bad at it. Whereas a growth mindset believes that anything you want to learn, you can. If you're bad at something, you can get better. A great example of growth mindset is in Michael Jordan. Famously, he was cut from his high school basketball team, but he kept practicing, he got better, he got back on the team, he went to college, got on the college team, went pro, and became one of the greatest legends of the sport. So how did he do that? Well, he just kept practicing. A fixed mindset would have said, okay, I'm not that good, I'm just gonna go do something else. And we never would have heard of Michael Jordan. Growth mindset says that, hey, I can get better at this, so I'm going to practice. And he practiced and practiced and practiced. Fixed mindset and growth mindset go deeper than that. They actually impact your brain. Functional MRI studies have shown that people with a fixed mindset have less activity in the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain where you do learning and decision making and memory, and higher activity in the amygdala, which is the emotional level associated with fear. So when you have a fixed mindset, you're more fearful, and you literally shut down the part of your brain that allows you to learn and overcome challenges. Whereas if you have a growth mindset, it increases activity in the prefrontal cortex, which allows you to learn faster, make better decisions, and overcome challenges. So literally, whether you believe you can learn something or not, turns the brain on or off and allows you to learn it quicker and deeper. That's the importance of a growth mindset. Simply saying, I believe I can learn this, and diving into it with that kind of mentality changes the way the brain accepts information. Now, all of us have both growth and fixed mindsets in different areas of our life. For example, you might think you're terrible at math, but you're a good singer. So you embrace singing and you do it all the time and you constantly get better because you just do it. But you avoid anything to do with math because you think you're never going to be good at it. You can't learn it. You literally think, I can't learn math. And people say this kind of stuff to themselves all the time. They tell it to other people, oh, I'm no good at math. That's a fixed mindset. Whereas if you say, okay, I'm not good at math right now, but I can learn it, that is a growth mindset. And then you begin to look for ways in which you can learn it. And if you apply yourself, you get better and better and better. That's the difference between fixed mindset and growth mindset. And we all have it in different areas of our life. So root out the parts of your life where you have a fixed mindset and begin to look for ways that you can grow and change in that area. So the growth mindset is rooted in the idea that any skill can be learned. If one man can learn it, another man can learn it.
What one man can do, another can do.
It's just a question of whether or not you want to devote yourself to that task. When you realize that any skill can be learned, then you realize that you can learn any skill. So now you're left with only 2 questions to ask. 1, where am I starting from? And 2, how much of myself am I willing to invest in learning this thing? And that brings us to level 2, from victim mentality to taking responsibility. There will always be external forces that impact your life. Circumstances, events, people that you can't control. But people who focus on who and what is to blame never achieve anything in life. It's easy to place blame, and it can feel good to seek sympathy. But in the end, when you're done whining, nothing has changed. You're still in the same bad situation. The truth is, there's always something you can do. There's always some aspect of your situation that you can control, even if it's just your own attitude. But as soon as you begin to take responsibility for that, you begin to see more opportunities and to make changes that can really impact your life. There's always something you can control in every situation, even if it's your own focus and actions. Find that thing and begin to take control of it. That's what it means to take responsibility and stop being a victim. This is the next step from growth mindset, because it's one thing to know that you can grow, and it's another thing to actually take that action. Have you ever heard somebody say, well, I could do that if I wanted to? Like maybe I could learn another language if I wanted to. Doesn't that sound like an excuse? Like they say they could do it, that feels good for their ego, but they're not actually putting in the work. Well, this is the same thing. If you have the growth mindset that says you can learn anything, but you don't actually take the action, take the responsibility for doing the thing, then you're still just a victim. You're still making excuses. And that's why the growth mindset alone isn't enough. The growth mindset is a great beginning, but if you don't take action, nothing happens. This is what I like to tell my clients. I can do all the push-ups in the world, you're never gonna get any stronger. It's the same thing with taking responsibility. Once you know that you can learn something, you have to actually take action, take responsibility for yourself to do those things. Whether it's sign up for a class, go to the gym, get out of bed when you don't want to, it doesn't matter. You have to take the action. You have to take responsibility and stop being a victim of your circumstances. And that brings us to level 3, from fear of failure to embracing uncertainty. Once you embrace a growth mindset and take responsibility for your actions, comes the next level. That is failing. No matter what you're trying to learn, you are going to fail. You're going to make mistakes. Learning to embrace those failures as a positive thing is the next level, and it is one of the most challenging things you'll do in your life. Beginning when we are children, we are taught to avoid failure. Think about it. In school, we take tests. They're pass or fail, and only passing matters. We are never rewarded for, I made the effort, I tried. That is a terrible mindset because your best learning comes from failure. Think about how you learned to avoid hot things. Maybe you burn yourself on the stove as a child. Now, you probably had an adult tell you, don't touch the stove, it's hot. And you maybe heard that and were careful of it most of the time. But it didn't really sink in. You didn't know what hot stove meant. You didn't know what it felt like to be burned. So then one day when you weren't really paying attention, you accidentally touched the hot stove and you got burned, and that really hurt. And suddenly you knew what hot meant on a visceral level. It's deep learning from that failure. Well, all your other failures, every time you try and learn something and you make an effort and it doesn't work out, if you take the time to analyze that failure, to dissect it, you learn the lessons much more deeply than if you just read them in a book or watch them on a video. You have to do it. You have to actually have the experience to really learn something, and that means failing. When you learn to embrace your mistakes as deeply as you embrace your successes, everything you learn will be learned much more deeply and much more fully. It won't be just stuff you know up here. It'll be in your body, in your soul. You'll know it inside and out. So when you change your mindset from a fear of failure to embracing uncertainty, experimentation becomes a way of life. You go through life asking, why not? What if? And then you look for answers. You try and find what works. Instead of being afraid of failure, you're like, let's find out. You almost want to become like that annoying 2-year-old who's constantly asking why? But instead of just expecting the adult to answer you, you ask why, and then you go find the answer. When you truly embrace uncertainty and are willing to make mistakes, sometimes you're going to look foolish. Which brings us to the 4th and most powerful level of mind shift change that will truly unlock your potential. Level 4. Letting go of external validation and finding inner peace. This last level is the hardest for most people to embrace, but it really does overlay the other 3 if you think about it. Your fixed mindset comes from somebody somewhere in your life telling you you weren't good at something, and so you stopped trying to grow in that area. You thought you could never do it. Next is your victim mentality versus your taking responsibility. If you have a victim mentality, you get validation by saying, oh, it's not my fault, and people have sympathy for you. That feels good. That's external validation. And your fear of failure? Well, that's a fear of looking foolish. That's a fear of being judged by other people. These are all external validation. And in order to move from your fixed to your growth mindset, you need to get rid of that other person's opinion of you. To move from victim mentality to taking responsibility, you need to stop worrying about whether other people give you sympathy and start worrying about whether you actually get results that you want. And to get over your fear of failure and begin to embrace uncertainty, you need to stop worrying about whether you look foolish. You need to stop worrying about what other people are going to think of you because you made a mistake. So moving from external validation to inner peace means that you really need to look at what motivates you. You need to dig in deep and see where you're placing your values and where that needs to change, because you're placing a lot of value on what other people think and say about you instead of what you think and say about you. To truly unleash your potential and unlock your full capabilities, you need to stop worrying about what other people think. And this can be really difficult today because social media teaches us on a deep psychological level that what other people think is important. If you think about it, every social media platform is based on getting views and getting likes and getting comments. It is telling us on a psychological level that what other people think is important. And this moves us from a growth mindset back to a fixed mindset. If you're worried about what other people think, you're not going to take responsibility for your actions. You're going to make excuses. You're going to be a victim. And if you're worried about what other people think, you're going to be afraid of looking foolish, so you're not going to take the chance of making a mistake, and therefore you're not going to learn those deep lessons and grow. You need to move away from that in order to embrace all the other three levels. And if you truly think about it, look at the trendsetters and the leaders in today's world. They aren't the ones who are worried about what other people think. They do their own thing. And it can be very lonely at first because they got to step outside and do things that other people go, that's stupid, that's foolish, that'll never work. So to truly free yourself from the opinions of other people, you need to develop a deep understanding of yourself. This means analyzing your values, your beliefs. This means taking a really hard look at yourself and acknowledging, I'm weak in this area, I need to work on this. And then setting standards for yourself and living up to those standards instead of someone else's standards. And part of this level is having a rigid standard for yourself and what you expect of yourself, and it's based on what's important to you. And then being able to look at yourself, look at your actions you take, and decide whether or not they live up to the person you want to be. Not the person other people expect you to be, but the person you want to be. And sometimes that means admitting that no, you did something because you wanted to avoid embarrassing yourself, or you did something to avoid an uncomfortable conversation, or you did something that hurt someone's feelings and then you got defensive about it. Sometimes you don't live up to your own standards, but you have to know what your own standards are and then hold yourself accountable to them. The reason this level is so powerful is because once you begin to look at yourself at this really deep level, a lot of times you will realize that the success you've been chasing isn't the success you want. You've been chasing goals that would impress other people, or that your parents set for you, or that you think will make you happy, when in fact, in the back of your mind, you want something completely different. And by letting go of what other people think, it frees you to pursue the things you really want, the things that are important to you. And that will change your life in every possible way. When you let go of seeking external validation, you can embrace your goals and your dreams and authentically chase the things you want in life. And when you achieve them, you get that happiness and that success and that fulfillment that truly means something to you, rather than that hollow feeling of having achieved a goal that impresses other people, but that didn't really mean anything to you. And that's the power of letting go of external validation and seeking inner peace, chasing your dreams, your goals, your values, and stop trying to impress other people. So that's it. Those are the 4 key mindsets. Develop a growth mindset, take responsibility for your actions, embrace uncertainty, and let go of external validation. That's what will lead you to the ultimate success of your life. And that allows you to define success on your own terms, whatever that looks like to you, and truly go after it and achieve it. Now, the challenge is for you to pick one of these 4 and begin to really cultivate it in yourself, whether it's a growth mindset, whether it's taking responsibility for your own actions, whether it's embracing uncertainty, or whether it's letting go of worrying about other people and what they think of you. Whatever it is, begin to make that change. And to hold yourself accountable, part of your taking responsibility, why don't you leave it in the comment below which one you're gonna do. Now, this video's only really touched the surface of these 4 mindset shifts. Now, if you're ready to really dig in deep and make these changes quickly and have real impact in your life in a short amount of time, there's a link in the description below where you can schedule a one-on-one appointment with me to see if coaching is the right fit for you. Now, I can only work with a handful of people at a time, so I choose my clients carefully and I seek out only the most devoted people to work with. If you really, really want to make an impact in your life and you want to do it quickly and you're willing to do the work, to take that responsibility for your own actions, then click the link below and schedule your appointment, and I'll talk to you soon.